Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the R Show. As you can see, I have a guest with me tonight. You're wondering why the title is called Apple Got Fired. Well, he's one of the reasons. He fired him.
This is true.
If you don't know, this is Seth from Garage Flip Show, Seth and Lonnie. And he actually was Lonnie's boss. So they did a show of hiring your boss. So I kind of took their idea and flipped it since he fired his boss.
It's like firing your boss in Inception.
So, Seth, for people that don't know you, that haven't caught Lonnie's show with you yet, please introduce yourself and tell them everything that you need, are willing to share tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And hello, Steven. Hello, Swamp Picker. Hello, Gandalf. I love that name. Hello, Yvonne. And the Crazy Card. Nice to see you guys. My name is Seth Kniep, and I live in Austin, Texas with my wife and 4 children. And I used to work for Apple, as Chris mentioned, and I fired Apple this last January. I'm a full-time entrepreneur. I worked my butt off for the last year and a half trying extremely hard to build up my own income stream so I could leave Apple and still provide for my family. He still calls me boss. Dude, you fired me. You can't call me boss anymore, Lonnie. So, yeah, it was one of the scariest things I ever did, Chris, but one of the most satisfying things. So, hey, Justin, nice to see you, man. I love the American flag on there, too.
Hey, Justin, long time no see. Well, Seth, why don't you tell everybody, why don't you tell them a little bit about your channel, even though I put the link in the description, and you say you don't like what you got up yet now, so you're going to change it. Just
Yes.
how you're going to change it or what you're up to. So
Yes, do not look at the link in the description. I hate that link because my channel is terrible right now. I have a few random videos on there from, I think, 8, 9, 10 months ago. But anyways, yes, at some point I'm going to start my own channel and podcast, and I'm really excited about that. But Chris said, Seth, I think I should post it anyways. I told him don't. He's like, no, I think I should post it anyways because it will get you motivated something on there. I said, you know what, you're right. Do it. So I am happy to do that. So yeah, I actually am in the process of building a website called justonedime.com, and what I've been doing is coaching people to fire their boss and helping people start their own business and teaching people how to start with, and I came prepared, Chris. See it? Can you see it there?
yeah, I see the dime.
I started with this, guys, a dime, and I kept doubling that and doubling it and doubling it and doubling it until it became 100 grand. And that is how I became an entrepreneur. And so I teach people how to do that. That is what I love doing. And I even told Lonnie today when we were talking, I said, man, this is what I love to do. This is what I was called to do. I like yard sales and eBay and Amazon, but I really love coaching. So that was my dream, is to be able to someday, this dime, I started with the dime. I was broke. I had nothing. I was $24,000 in debt. And I just decided, you know what, I'm going to do something with this dime. And it worked. So, but there were many heartaches along the way, which I'm happy to be very open about tonight.
Well, Lonnie just made a comment that he should have made you sign a no-compete clause.
Very, very well said. That's hilarious.
You're not competing, it's not the same night. So it would be different if I was doing the show on Thursday nights. Then I'd be competing.
Well, I will say this. Lonnie has been a huge inspiration to me, Chris. And when I was at Apple, when I left to go on vacation, I had a bunch of people on the team and some people with more management experience than Lonnie. But guess who I chose? I chose Lonnie because I trusted him. And I knew I wanted someone with character, and I can trust someone with integrity. And he did an awesome job. And then he fired me a few months later. So thanks, Lonnie.
Well, we know that Lonnie fired you. So what made you, since this is one of the things you wanted to talk about, what were the things that made you want to fire Apple?
Yes, great question. So what I'll do is I will first start about what I loved working for Apple, and then I'm going to be very honest about what I hated. I don't believe in racking on companies, but I believe in being honest, and so I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. So when I started at Apple, I was currently telemarketing for a construction data company in Austin, Texas. And that is where you pick up the phone and you call people you never met before while they're eating dinner, and you try to sell them a system. One of the hardest jobs I've ever had. The people you hate getting calls from late at night when you're having dinner. I was one of those people. But it was one of the best training for me because it taught me, how do you handle rejection and not take it personally? And how do you become persuasive in a very short amount of time? Extremely, extremely difficult. And so what I did is I was doing all, but I really thought, man, I want to work for a company that just has a better environment. So someone told me about Apple. They were literally half a mile down the street. So I just walked in one day and said, can I apply? And they said, we don't have any openings, but you can go online. So I went online and I noticed that they had a position for sales and education. And it was a pretty high level position. And so I applied for it, got no response. So then I went to the bottom of the stairs position, like the entry level. And I thought, well, I feel like I'm overqualified. There's probably some arrogance there, but I decided to apply for sales on the phone for the online store. And so I applied, and within a couple of days, someone got back to me and they called me, interviewed, and I got the job. And I started in sales. Absolutely loved it, Chris. Chris, it was great environment. It was the Apple online store at Apple is a small community, and there's a bunch of little teams, and they all work together, and there's interaction and culture and creativity, and you have these parties, and everything's virtual like we're doing right now. That's why I'm comfortable doing this, because I did it for a long time. And we would do sales. We'd have sales competitions, and I did well. And I kept selling and selling and selling. And one day I looked down and I said, I have just made today more for Apple than I'm paid in a year. And that kind of bothered me. And I don't believe in entitlement, and I don't believe in this sort of serve me, give me, I deserve something. But I do believe in a labor is worthy of his wages, and people should be paid based on how much they produce. Kind of like when you go out and you find a good deal, Chris, and you find a super good deal, you work hard, eBay, you worked for that. You receive the benefits of your labor. Lonnie, you do the same thing. And so I really felt like, man, I'm barely making it. I'm barely supporting my family. I'm making tons of sales. What do I do? And I have to wait 12 months to maybe get a 3% raise? So I started looking around, and I noticed that they had management positions open, and I really enjoyed coaching. And when my boss would leave, he would have me be the manager. So I thought, hey, similar to what I did for Lonnie. So I thought, okay, well, I'm going to look into management. And so I began to just really research two departments, the education sales and Apple Care tech support. Like if your phone breaks down, your iPhone or your iPad or your any iPod or iPod Classic, and you call in, the people you talk to, I would manage one of those people. And so I was either going to do that or I was going to do educational sales. And I looked at both, and I kept, going back and forth. Which one should I pick? And so I thought, I got to do something different to really stand out. So I created a little mini video of myself, 20 seconds long, introducing myself. I shared all my weaknesses and all my strengths. I was very blunt, but I was very, hopeful, like, hey, I'll do everything I can to achieve. Would you give me a chance? They really liked that. In one day, I received 2 offer letters, one from the education department and one from the Apple Care department. And then I was like, wow, this is awesome. I can pick now. I have a choice. So I sat down with my wife. We prayed about it. We talked about it. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to go with Apple Care because I want to coach people. That's what I love to do. So then I started coaching in Apple Care, and that's when I met Lonnie. And I was given a team, and I began to train them. And we started learning, all the technical stuff, and they were training me in how to coach and just so many different things. And I was learning a ton. And for the first 6 months, Chris, I really enjoyed it. Like, I was learning a lot. I was growing. I felt like, kind of like what you said you do for your show, you always want to add new information. I was constantly reaching new heights. Oh, try this out. Learn this. Do that. For example, Chris, when someone would come in and I would coach them, and I could tell they were afraid to be on the phone, and I could help them and give confidence for them to be on the phone, that made my day. I absolutely loved inspiring people and giving them confidence to take that step. I've always wanted to lead people off of a cliff. That sounds horrible. Teach them how to build their wings on the way down, right? And so this is what I did. Okay, I don't want to make this too long, so I'm going to fast forward. So that's what I did. And then I moved over. The time changed. Apple Care began to change, and we started getting, I didn't just have a manager. Now my manager had a manager. Then their manager had a manager. It was growing like crazy. So what happened is the hierarchy started getting really, really vertical. So in order for me to talk to anyone who had any major level of influence, I'd have to go for like 3 people. HR started getting really, really strict because Apple's got a lot of money. And some people, they know if they can sue Apple, and Apple, if they're afraid of tarnishing their reputation, maybe they'll get a lot of money out of it just to avoid the publicity that could be negative. I began spending more time protecting Apple from getting any kind of lawsuit than I did coaching people. And that's what I really, really, really struggled with. And I was like, man, I was hired to coach people. I wasn't hired to fill out HR paperwork. And that's what I started doing all the time. And so finally got to a point, I said, okay, so I'm not going to keep, I'm not happy. Like, this is not what I was hired to do. That's my dog there. He's like, yeah, amen. That's right. So anyway, so finally got to a point, Chris, where I said, I'm actually going to start looking elsewhere. And I came up with this concept. What if I started making my own money myself? What if I became my own entrepreneur, my own boss? And so I read Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek book, and I read it, and it really inspired me. Some of it I didn't like, but some of it I did. And as I read the book, I realized, oh my goodness, I can do this. What if I could maximize my time and make twice what I'm making working half the time I'm working? And that's when I began. I'll tell more later if you want, but that's when I began to set out. And every day after Apple, I would hit the streets and start walking around, doubling a dime. And I kept doing that. And long story short, that's how I became a full-time entrepreneur, and I absolutely love it.
I know you said before the show started that Lonnie actually inspired you to get into the reselling a little bit. So you want to let us know how that happened?
How what happened?
How Lonnie inspired you to get into reselling a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. So it started, let me think back. Lonnie, the first time, if this is TMI, Lonnie, tell me, but then it'll be too late. The first time, Lonnie, you told me about a YouTube channel you were doing, and you're like, I remember you were like, you were guarded. You're like, well, I think this is okay, and I want to check with you. And we used to work for Apple, and you're like, I have this YouTube channel, and it makes me a little income on the side. I was like, Lonnie, that's awesome. Do that. Remember this, Lonnie? I was like, very supportive. Like, that's so cool. Because Lonnie, when you said that, my heart was already going that direction. I already want. So anytime someone said they're on the side doing something extra, oh my goodness, that's exactly what I wanted. And so that's why I was so supportive, and there was nothing wrong with it. So that's the first time he hinted at that he has an entrepreneur bug in him. Inspiration-wise, when Lonnie, the day he called me to tell me he's leaving Apple, he said, I'm done with you. Forget it. I'm out of here. And I'm joking. He was totally cool about it. It's like, Seth, I'm really sorry. I feel bad, but it's just not going to work for me, and I can make more doing this. And I totally respected that. Sad to see him go, but I 100% happy for him. And then Lonnie and I started talking back and forth every now and then about the yard sales he was doing and the deals he was finding. I really, really liked the story, Lonnie, you told me about someone was closing their shop. They were selling it, and it was full of all these antiques. Do you remember this? And you said, Seth, I'm making a killing off these things. This is awesome. And you were selling all these antiques. He found this like ridiculous deal. Super inspiring. At that time, I was trying to start a vape store that helps people get off smoking and using vapor, which based on research, this is super controversial. I believe it to be true, though. It's much healthier for your lungs. And Lonnie and I just started talking back and forth. And so when my online store completely failed, it crashed and burned, I thought, you know what? I got all these vapes. There's eBay. Why not put them on the store and sell them and see what happens? And so that's when I began to sell on eBay. And then I started adding on other stuff. Then eBay didn't like me for doing that. So I changed my products, and the rest is history.
Okay. And for the people that don't know, like I said, we're at 26 viewers now. I don't know how many actually catch Lonnie's show. So what have you gone into? Because I know you do Amazon. Are you still doing eBay and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I tested eBay to its limits, and they banned me. So so now my wife and I both put stuff on her store. She's like, Seth, don't you mess up the store. You put good stuff on there, you'd be very safe. Because I'm the risk taker. she's the realist, I'm the idealist. So she's like, but it's cool. So we are actually adding stuff on there a lot. And yeah. So I sell on Amazon, primarily Amazon. Kimberly's been doing eBay. Her primary is Instagram, mine's Amazon, and then now we're both doing one eBay store together and adding more stuff on there. So yes.
Okay. You guys have any questions for Seth? Please ask. Put the question marks in front or the word question so we can catch them. Thank you. We talked about that. I actually gave that suggestion to you guys on the show, your show. It's like that seems to go around. Every once in a while, somebody's telling the show, they're like, okay, well, you might want to do this and catch the questions.
And I agree with what Lonnie just said. Yes, you do have to be careful with that herbal stuff. Absolutely. So, yeah. It can be a very controversial topic. I will say that at least.
So how did your boss at Apple take it when you told him you were quitting? Did you say, I fire you?
Okay. Total disclosure here. I'm a pretty transparent dude, even to the level of make some people uncomfortable. So I had a meeting. I had a one-to-one, is what they call them at Apple, and I was supposed to be in that one-to-one. And I was thinking, mulling over how best to communicate, I'm out of here. And by this time, my heart, like I was physically here at Apple, right? But my heart was over there. And I was already making double what I was making at Apple. There was no reason for me to stay. The only thing I'm holding on, well, it's nice to get that check, but there's no way I could stay there. So I believe in bending a job until it breaks versus making a clean break. I do believe in giving 2-week notice and all that and honoring the rules and expectations, but I bent it, Chris. I was starting to kill myself, and I was working, I felt like I was burning 10 candles on double ends at all times, and I was barely making it Apple, and I was over here making other money, working and learning and trying and risking and failing and achieving. So my job just kind of like was starting to go like this, and my performance was starting to go down, and my job started to bend. And it's hard because part of me wants to achieve, but I had to realize long-term, who am I really achieving for? For a few people at Apple who really don't care, a company that really doesn't need me, you know what I mean? Versus my wife, my kids, people I love, people I know better. I mean, really the people I got to know really well at Apple were the people on my team. And I'm still friends with many of them, Lonnie being one of them. So I bent it until it broke. So I had a meeting scheduled. It was like 1 or 2 p.m. I think it was 1 p.m. in the afternoon. And I did not show up at that meeting. And so, hey, what's up, Golden Finger Picker? So my boss texted me because I was still mulling over, how am I going to break this news? I'd already written the letter and everything. And so my boss texted me a couple times, like, where are you? What's going on? So finally, I just called her back and I said, I'm done. And I was not mean at all. I just said, my heart's over here. I've realized if I follow Steve Jobs' advice, I won't continue doing what I'm doing. He said, do what you love. This isn't what I love. So I need to leave the very company he started if I follow his example. It's a good line to use for someone you're leaving when they work for Apple. So, yeah.
Mr. Chad showed up. And Lonnie wanted to watch their show last night, but they didn't have their show last night. So, what would you think for somebody that doesn't work for Apple, say they work for a different corporation?
Yeah.
Would you think a clean break, start fresh with, say, take their last paycheck or whatever? I don't know how salaries are worked out or whatever for corporations, but say they have an extra $5,000. Use that to say, okay, I'm quitting. Use that last money to start your business, or try working it like you did. You try to work, basically burning, like you said, the candles on both ends.
Yeah. So the first question I would ask is, am I hurting anyone? I'd rather hurt a policy than a person. And I think that's where policies get in trouble. And this is what I hate about corporocracy. Not Apple, but corporocracy. It's hard to avoid it as a company grows. But that is, if you're going to hurt something, don't hurt a person, hurt a policy first, if you have to choose between the two. And so I realized for me, and this is what I would recommend, if you are at a full-time job and on the side you're trying to make more and more money, I would wait. I wouldn't make an emotional, romantic decision. It sounds awesome. Like, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to jump and figure it out. I would make a calculated risk, be risky, but I would do a calculated risk. And I'm really glad I did, because what that did is my family never suffered financially once, not a single month. Because here was Apple. Here's how I look at it, Chris. I love this concept, man. Check this out. If this is income at a corporation, okay, and you're doing a good job, wait 12 months, you go up 3, 5, 1.5%. Wait 12 months, you go up 3, 5, whatever, 5.5%. And you just barely climb. Now, your level of performance is going to tend to match that. Like someone said in the comments here, who was that? Direct correlation rarely happens at a regular hourly rate. You're so right, the crazy card. I 100% agree. What happens is when people are given raises like that, then what do they really work for? A 3% performance increase. That's terrible. Can you imagine being on eBay and it taking a year to increase your performance 3%? Like, you die. It'd be horrible, right? You want to increase 5, 10, 15 every month in order to make it. You can't stay at a 3%. And see, in other words, people are valued based on how they're paid, in my opinion. And so that's why I believe in keeping your corporate job, right? But on over here, even if you're making $30 a month, that's awesome. If you're making $80 a month, that's awesome. If you're making $800 on eBay, that's awesome. Keep going, because guess what? You can do this with eBay and Amazon. You cannot do that with the corporation. So even though if you're making less here, don't get discouraged. Those numbers say a lot more about your character. The fact that you're doing it on your own. And then in 3 months, you can double it. In 3 months, you can double it. And look what happens. Corporations right here. And before you know it, you're way up here on this side. See what I mean? That's what I love about being an entrepreneur. There's no cap. You can keep adding on and rearranging your time and making it more valuable. But at a company, the way the system is set up, I believe it discourages ultimate improvement. Not all improvement, but ultimate. That's why I like small companies, because they grow fast. You're challenged and you can get paid accordingly based on how much you produce. I hope that makes sense.
Yep, it made sense to me. Lonnie has a question. He says, doesn't that depend on how much sweat equity and knowledge equity you have? And then he says, you will never be ready.
Yeah, it's true. You're never ready. I have this problem, and that problem is because there's part of me that likes risk, but there's also part of me that's perfectionist. So, Chris, I like to wait until everything's set up, and then I'll do that. And then I'll launch this. I talk about my YouTube channel, which completely sucks right now. If I wait till everything's perfect, it'll never get anywhere. So you and Lonnie, keep posting it for the world to see. Embarrass me into doing it. I mean it. Like, please do that. You're never ready. And yeah, I agree, Lonnie. It depends on how much sweat equity and knowledge equity that you have. Absolutely. If I don't think everyone is called to do that, and I don't think that makes them better or worse. Some people, there's something inside that loves working for yourself, and other people, they love working for a company, and both are equally fine. But if you have that bug, that drive, that passion to do something more with life, you stop and you say, do I wish I worked at Starbucks? Starbucks is awesome, right? Even those crazy people who question me about being there and someone pets their dog. I watched that, Chad. That was awesome. If you know what I'm referring to, if any of you guys watched that video. Did you see that? The thing with the lady petting the dog and he drives up and she's like, tomorrow's the weekend. Chad's like, yeah, that's cool. Anyways, so I love that. That was so funny. But yeah, anyways, I feel like I'm rambling. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, I think you answered his question. So if you had to, would you go back to a corporate job, or would you keep trying to find different reselling avenues? Say you burnt Amazon's bridge. What would you do next?
Brother, somebody stripped me naked and threw me on the street. I would rather figure out a way. Just give me a dime. Please just give me a dime. That's all I ask for, to take a dime and to turn that and keep doubling and keep doubling and keep doubling it until I find a way to provide for myself. I would never want to go back to working for a company. Nothing wrong with it. It's just the freedom. It's like tasting the real thing. Once you've, imagine having fake coffee all your life and then you taste real coffee. You're like, I will never go back, or tasting decaf. I will never go back. I mean, unless something crazy happens and, God totally changed the direction of my life, I'll never go back, man. I would rather make half of what I made at Apple and be an entrepreneur. And that's the thing, I'm not doing it for the money. The money's cool, but it's motivating. It's the principle behind it. It's inspiration that I can build something, you know? I don't need to like, hey guys, look at my cool car. Aren't I rich? I don't need that. Like, I'm okay. I drive a minivan. It is the most badass minivan you've ever seen. But it works. It works for my family. You see what I mean? It's not about an image for me. It's about the joy of building something and helping people. That, Chris, is what motivates me, man. And that's why I loved coaching at Apple. But I felt like the atmosphere started squeezing out innovation. I would share an idea, and they were like, well, you got to talk to so-and-so and so-and-so and so. And I felt like, you know, I have to fill out a form to share an idea with a human. Can't we just sit down and talk and inspire each other? Yes, the crazy card. Freedom. Absolutely. Absolutely, man.
Okay, so you knew Lonnie started the channel. So are there any YouTube channels that you have been watching, not necessarily religiously, but at least picking things up off of that you want to share?
Me?
Yeah, like if just any particular channels that you've been watching?
It's going to sound crazy, but garage flips. I love watching garage flips. And not the Seth Lonnie show. It sounds super narcissistic. No, like seriously. Lonnie inspires me. I love that. Chad's show is awesome. The Golden Finger Picker. There's another one I found. If I go to my YouTube channel, I can find it really quick. Really good show. And this guy's sharing all. I'm going to find it right now. I'm going to give you 1 second. So let me see. Rakin, Profit, and Rockstar Flipper. Both. Those are great shows. If you guys check it out. Rakin, R-A-I.
I know in the YouTube community.
You do know of him?
Yep, he great. Steve's been a guest on my show in the past. So
yeah, that's awesome, man.
The only one I don't know about is Rock. I haven't saw Rockstar yet.
Yep. So yeah, check out Rockstar Flipper. He's got some great stuff. This young guy in Florida, really good content. I don't watch YouTube a lot. I feel like once I immerse myself, I'll do that tons. But right now, there's so many other things I'm working on. The main thing I've been doing is just meeting with people who want to break away from their company and start their own thing, you know?
Well, you did ask if I would let you talk about it, so you want to let people know how to get a hold of you. So if they wanted to reach out to you.
Yeah, absolutely. If someone wants to reach out to me, talk, meet, whatever. If you work for a company and you want to know how can I fire my boss and build a company or start revenue stream, I would love to help with that. I'll just chat my number right here. I do not mind. It's a 512-925-931. There you go. You guys can take that number. That goes to this cell. Someday I probably shouldn't do that anymore, but this is a safe community. I feel like I can do that. So I only got one. I posted on Facebook the other day, and I only got one really weird text. Like someone said, hi. It's like, hello? And then that was it. A little weird. Other than that, it's been great. So
I would say if you'd be a little bit more careful about giving out your number, just because, like I told you before the show started, there are some people that might take advantage of that and go the wrong way with it. So
yeah. Well, maybe I can like convince them to fire their boss. Maybe I could turn it into good conversation. Golden Finger Picker. That is what my wife tells me. So yeah.
Yeah, Chad, I see what you're telling him, and like he said, he takes a lot of risks that his realistic wife talks him out of.
If I hadn't taken risks, I would not be here today sharing my dream. If I hadn't taken risks.
I'm not seeing any other questions. So, okay. So, something else that you said we wanted to touch on with me. Something about when I was telling you about my little show about the learning from somebody struggling over a more successful person.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So such a good comment. Everyone who's successful had a point, and even successful is a very loose term. How do you define success, right? Success is very relative in my opinion. I think, a man who loves his wife and spends time with his kids is a success. A woman who loves her husband and loves her kids and family, I think that's success. Someone who works hard at their job, where it's a corporation, entrepreneur, I think that's success. But when it comes specifically to making more money in that context, right? I think it's so important that we never forget the hard times and realize that no matter how successful someone is, we still go through hard times. One of my greatest business failures is when I started mountainvapes.com. It was a vape store. And my goal, I realized back in 2013 that vapes were really starting to skyrocket. I started calling random suppliers and just calling and calling, saying, hey, what's selling the most? What's selling the most? What's selling the most? And I kept hearing the same thing. And it was vapes. And so I thought, I'm going to jump on this bandwagon. I had no idea what I was doing, Chris. And so I jumped on, and I had this store, and I had these nice, pretty pictures and all these great vapes, and no one was buying. I think the most I made in 1 month was $445. Like, compared in profit, but still, like, I can't live off that with a wife and six people in my family, 4 kids in today's day and age. And so I was like, what am I doing wrong? And looking back, there was no reason for someone to buy from my store versus someone else because I had not differentiated myself. I remember one time I was at a coffee shop that I work at, and this guy, he and I'm always meeting people at coffee shops, and this guy, I met him, and he's like, here, let me give you my business card. And he handed it to me, and I wish I had it right here. And it said, zig when others zag. And his whole point was, if you just do what everyone else is doing, you just get lost in the masses. Yes, look for trends, but how can I differentiate myself, you know? So that's what I did wrong. I didn't differentiate myself. There was no reason to buy from my store. It was just like any other store with great pictures and great prices. So I ended up having to completely give that up. I sold it for a price so low, I'm embarrassed to share it, but I sold the whole store, got rid of it, and pretty much had all this leftover inventory. And that's when I turned to emails like, okay, let me see if I can get them to, to people in there to buy it. And that's when I really started to rethink how I do things. So, and then other parts, Chris, are just, daily. I remember Lonnie asked me this one time is, do you ever feel like inadequate or feel like you can't make it? Absolutely. Probably daily, not all the time, but the thought will come to my mind, man, I don't know if I can do this, or do I have what it takes? There's always that internal battle going on. And I think that more we're honest about it, the less power it has over us. I don't think we have to pretend, I'm still a real person who, I'm vulnerable. I'm a human. And every day I'm going to fight as hard as I can to do the best I can with the short life I have on this earth. And that's what I want to do.
We have a question from the Crazy Card. He says, so what is the future, Seth? Are you aiming at doing a book?
I am. I want to write a book called How to Fire Your Boss. I posted a Crazy Card on Facebook the other day. And in the post, I took screenshots of my revenue of 2 of 5 different revenue streams. I just took 2 and I put them on there. And I said, look, I don't normally do this. And Chad, this is probably not safe either. It's like going crazy, man. But I didn't put personal information on there, but I posted it and I said, look, if you're interested in figuring out what is it like to break free from your boss and start making your own living, talk to me. Maybe I can help. I could not believe the response I got on that, Chris. Like, I got to a point where I just said, okay, I can't take anymore. I don't have time in the day. There are so many people out there hungry to break away from what they're doing because they feel like a cog in a machine and they're just doing what everyone else is doing. And if their boss says they suck, they believe it. And if their boss says they're great, oh, my boss built my character or built my ego today. And like their whole happiness depends on that one person. I don't think it's natural. I don't think it's healthy. Dude, if I ever start a company, Chris, where we have employees, I don't want that to be part of the culture. I want it to be a little more raw and genuine and open and just, give critical feedback and positive, but don't treat people like, little levels on a machine based on your pay grade. I think it's more personal than that and real, and people need to take risks and be rewarded for taking risks, even if it doesn't turn out financially profitable, because how can you ever succeed if you don't fail? Michael Jordan, think about how many shots he missed. Thousands and thousands. Of course, no one ever talks about it, but he does. It's like you have to be willing to fail if you want to succeed. And I think it's the fear of failure that holds a lot of people back.
Well, I'm guessing Chad tried giving you a call. He said, he didn't take my call, laugh out loud.
Yeah, the truth is I would be talking to Chad to help me. Let's be real, Chad. I think you've been in this game for a lot longer than I have, brother.
Well, since you haven't really watched, you said you caught part of my show from Sunday. and
Hmm.
you don't watch too many videos. And until we get more questions from the guests, how anything you have question wise for me?
Yeah, absolutely. What has been your greatest achievement in what you do, and what has been your greatest failure? If you're comfortable answering both questions.
Well, the failure right now is the fact that I still haven't been able to get off the eight and actually get to where I want to be. But life has gotten in the way for that. It's not necessarily just me. It's like I told everybody knows, the wife's gone through stuff, so I'm working around everything that we both deal with.
Yeah. So when you say where you want to get to be, can you be more specific? And as only as comfortable as you want to be. Like, where do you want to get to be?
I want to be off all the aids I get.
You want to be what? Sorry,
Huh?
I didn't hear you. You want to be what?
I want to get off all the aids that I'm on.
Gotcha. Get off all the aid that you're on. Okay. Gotcha.
I don't want to be doing somebody taking money from other workers. I want to be out there trying to make my own money.
Right. Gotcha. So why would you see that as a failure?
Because I've been trying to do it for the last 5 years.
But if you
So
look at,
it's like life, it's life that keeps getting in the way.
yeah, yeah.
It's just the fact that I know I should be doing better than I am.
Okay. So if you don't mind me asking a few questions, this is your show, but tell me if this is too far, man. But you asked me to ask you questions. So I would say, here's my opinion. If I am sleeping in more than I need to, if I'm not eating healthy, if I'm missing opportunities because I'm not working hard, if I'm not following up with customers who have questions about my products in eBay, yeah, that's my failure. But if I'm in a situation where a lot of things are thrown at me and it's really, really hard and I'm doing everything I can to fight to achieve, dude, I'd say that's success. Like, really, for me, the time failure, right? And I probably said it wrong. When my store failed, for me, the success was I kept going, I kept going. I didn't think, hey, so that means I haven't arrived. No, not true at all. Yeah. So I remember one time listening, who was it? He talked about his YouTube shows and he got, 10 views. And he said, you know what? Every single view matters. That is a person I succeeded. The question is, if we stop there and become content with that, okay, that's failure in my opinion, but to keep striving more. So, dude, if I encourage you, man, I don't see that as a failure at all. Tell me if I'm wrong, Chris.
It's just my own thoughts because of where I started. And I'm like, okay, I know when she was working, if we were able to have the money coming in, I wouldn't necessarily need that. The guy who loves bowling, it's like, because of not being able to do everything I want to do, I can't even go out and have fun. The last time I went to the movies was in July, and that was to celebrate my birthday, which was the end of June. So it's like I didn't even get to go on my birthday.
Right.
So it's like that's where I'm not able to go out and have fun like other people are. It's like I feel like I have to put more work in, even though some people say I don't because of all the help I do in groups and stuff like that. But that's to me also work. I may not be getting paid for it, but it's payment in a different way.
Absolutely. I know what you mean. The greatest reward for me that is non-transactional financial is seeing someone empowered in some way, even if it's a tiny little step. That's what I love to see, But so let's go to the other question. What would you say is your greatest success? What is something you're the most proud about? Like, guys, this is what I've done and I achieved it. And don't be shy, brother.
Being able to do what the doctors told my parents I wouldn't be able to do.
Hmm.
Because when I was born, they told my parents I wouldn't walk, talk, or use my arms.
Wow.
So that's that went out of the way. That's the best. And I still I survived guns being pulled on me. So it's like I survived. There's a lot of things that it's not necessarily business wise, but still it's success because I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome, man. I couldn't ever claim to have a success even close to that because I do not know what it was like. I was never told that, right? So I don't know what that's like. So that's awesome, man. That's incredible. And look at this. Now you have a show and people are growing and learning and being inspired by it. So that's awesome.
Bond made a comment. We all have some kind of logistical stuff to incorporate into our lives and biz. So.
The logistical stuff is the hardest for me. You know, like, oh, we need to pay this bill. Oh, we need to make sure the grass gets cut before the HOA gets on my back. Oh, what about daughter's, practice? Oh, like those little things. Those are the things that drive me crazy. I wish I could just do the main stuff, you know what I mean? And delegate everything else. That would be awesome. So, yeah. How's it going, Mr. Saddle? Mr.
That's
Sadie? Sorry.
Mr. Sadie.
Mr. Sadie. Oh, gotcha. Hey, Mr. Sadie, 1, 2, 3.
He's one of my other loyal watchers. So, we talked about, well, you asked me about me. So and like you said, the success was because I'm here and everything else.
Yeah.
But that's not, and that's part of the reason why I do the show. Like you said, I'm trying to have people learn. Like I told you before, I have people like Cat and people that are more not necessarily knowledgeable, but have to. I want to ask, if I'm a new person, not always new, but so that way I can catch people coming in that are new. And they're like, wait a minute, like the title's going to do something like Apple got fired. Wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. So then they're going to learn how you fired Apple.
Yeah.
That might give them the inspiration to do. Well, wait a minute, I'm going to give up. I'm going to get to this point, and then I'm going to fire my boss. So
I've had several people approach me who knew that I worked for Apple and say, hey, how did you get a job at Apple? Could you give me some tips? And it felt so weird because I just left the company. I'm like, I don't want to work for Apple anymore. So now I got to speak for them as a company. So yeah, it's interesting. But, for me, I think Apple, they have a strong reputation. They're well known for being a very wealthy and sort of a high class, technological, forward thinking company. But when you get into the company, you're still working with people like you and me. We're just people, it's still made up of people with highs and lows and struggles. And it's good, but it's not so magical. It's not like walking into Disneyland. It's still people. And at the end of the day, the most important thing to me was the people I work with. People can make or break my day. I'll be honest. It may sound super codependent, but it's the people there, the real life human beings. One thing I loved about it, Chris, is we worked from all over the country. So there were people in Pennsylvania, in Georgia, in Alabama, in California, and we're all meeting over video because they're working from home in their pajamas. So if you guys ever, call Apple support because your phone's not working, just say something like, hey, how do you like working in your pajamas? And see what they say.
We got a question, but before I read that to you, there was also a comment from the same person. Thrift Daddy says you look like Sheamus from the WWE. And then he also asked, he also asked, ever read the book Acres of Diamonds?
Never read it. What's it about, Thrift Daddy? Have you read it, Chris?
No, I haven't read it.
Yeah, I'm curious, Thrift Daddy. What's it about?
Well, maybe he'll let us know. Chad has been making a comment. Thanks, Chad. He said that I fill many gaps in the community. I pick up a lot of slack. So that they appreciate.
That's awesome.
See, yep. People that that's why I think if you noticed the last comment from 01 Wolf was last week when I told you about my show. There's like a part of me that, and it wasn't because of the dislikes necessarily. It's just like I said, I struggle to find guests. I got to come up with content, and doing it by myself, it's harder. So it's like I'm like, do I really want to keep going? Or do I want to keep doing 2 shows? What do I want to do? I enjoy doing it. That's why that's why I keep saying I got to find somebody. But like I said, I don't want to go begging somebody to be on the show. Sometimes I want somebody to come to me and say, I'll be on your show. As long as it's got to do with reselling, and as long as you got knowledge in an area, I'm going to let you on. But you have to have some respect in the community because I'm not going to disrespect somebody. That's why I always enjoy about the question that the crazy asked about the books, because there are some people that use our community to try selling books instead of giving it. Like they start giving out freebies, and then they're like, okay, I'm going to go for the money grab, as it's called, for the book, and have all my followers buy me a book. Yes, I've had 2 people that I've done deals with where when first I helped on their book, even though I didn't ask them to necessarily give me credit, So they came on my show and we did a book launch. They wanted to give me the respect of helping them. They helped, so they wanted to do that.
Yeah.
But more often than not, I'm not going to be endorsing anything unless I know the person long enough and I trust them.
Yep. So it doesn't feel like a bait and switch kind of thing where they're just using the show to so they can make a quick buck.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. That book, Thrift Daddy, where you say, so this guy is going to Africa looking for oil. No, he's about a man in Africa, travels the world to find oil. His family finds acres of diamonds on his farm, literally diamonds in the fields. That sounds like a super cool premise. I should check it out.
There we go, the jokes.
Nice.
So, yeah, Lonnie made a comment about the 3-person show is a way easier to do. I admit, like I started this show, I told you, and a lot of the viewers know. Yeah. I had Cool Toad and I had Miss Cool Find as my co-hosts.
Right.
Then we had a guest on top of it, so it wasn't just where it was just 3 heads talking. We actually asked the guest questions. We asked the group, the viewers, questions.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm looking for another co-host, but I'm not going to sit here and beg for anybody either. I know a lot of people's lives are busy, so they don't necessarily have the time to put out 2 shows or 1 show a week with me. So it's myself. Right. Oh, Chad wanted me to check my PM. So what else do you want to talk about while I do that? Let's see. There was one other thing you said that you wanted to talk about, since you said you wanted to be transparent. There was something else on your mind.
Oh, when we were talking before?
Yeah. I can't remember. We had 4 or 5 different topics you wanted to hit.
There were several things.
And I know we got 13 more minutes, so.
Well, I'll share something that you might find interesting. So when I was at the book, I was at Walmart the other day, and my daughter, she decided she was going to take control of buying all of the school things that the family needs, which I thought was pretty cool. She's super organized. She wrote out the list. She created it. She's like, can you go with me? For her, it was like a date. So we're at Walmart, and I found this. I'm going to go back to the video so I can see it. Thought that's interesting. And I decided to do something kind of unique. So I calculated how many days are between now and when I'm age 70. And I don't pick 70 because I don't think it's obviously not the end of my life, hopefully. But I like it because at age 70, I would like to be able to be in a stage of life where I can just enjoy my grandkids, enjoy my great-grandkids, maybe write some books, just relax more, because right now I work all the time. And so what I did, Chris, is at the top of it, I wrote how many days I have left until age 70, and that's 11,680 days. And you guys can go calculate that if you want to figure out how old I am. I don't mind. And so every day when I get up in the morning, almost every day, I'll write that number, and each day that number goes down 1. And so now I am at day 11,676. And what it does for me is, do you guys ever feel like this, where you get up in the morning and you look at your day and you have so many different things you feel you need to do? It's almost unbelievable. And some of those things are urgent but not important. And some of them are important but not urgent. And it's really hard to put the important above the urgent. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? I hate that feeling. And sometimes I feel paralyzed by that, like literally paralyzed. Like, I don't even know what to do right now. And it's already 9 o'clock, So what I started doing is I'll write how many days I have left to age 70. And I'll write, what are my intentions for today? With my heart, my attitude, my soul. Like, what is my intention for the inside of Seth, the character, the person, the personality? I intend what? And it's very spiritual. And then I'll write, what are tasks I want to do today? I want to complete all these FBA products. I want to clean up the backyard and clean off the dining room table. I want to purchase the sandals inventory. I want to check 99 designs in Upwork for new logos. I want to post 3, blah, blah, all these specific tasks I need to do. And you know what's cool about it, Chris? when I get to the end of my day, before I go to bed, I sit by my nightstand and I have this and I look at it. Even if I just did half of them, it's really satisfying because I started my day with intention. And the way I was able to get more done is by saying no to 10,000 things. See, for me, and I don't know how true this may be for other people, the hardest part is saying no to a bunch of stuff and saying yes to only the most important stuff. You know what I mean? Because it's the little urgent, unimportant stuff that can fill up my day. And it's already 2 PM and I've done nothing important. Like, oh, nice, I opened the mail. Oh, nice, I trimmed a bush. You know what I mean? And it's, you see what I mean? So it's helping me to focus. And I think this struggle, I just accept it. I'll probably start with this the rest of my life because I am by nature a high achiever. I want to achieve a lot, but by putting it down on paper, it disciplines me. At least it helps. And it's okay if I don't get all the goals done. At least writing them down makes me accountable to myself. I think that's what it means to be our own boss. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. They leave a corporation, they become their own boss, and they go, oh, shoot, I don't know if I always like this boss. Either this boss is too nice to me, right, which results in indulgence, or they're too hard on me, always saying, you're a loser, you're never going to make it, you'll never be as good as that person, you never make, you know what I mean? And there has to be a balance there. So that helps me to get out of my head and to hold myself accountable. So if that's of any value to anyone or encouraging in any way, yeah, just a thought.
Well, before I ask a question from Black Eye Joe in Australia, we got a tech point wanting to know about what is this conversation. I just arrived. Who can tell me the subject? The subject started out as about corporate being fired because Seth used to work for Apple. So he fired him over a year ago when he started doing his own reselling entrepreneur stuff. So,
yep.
And then we morphed into a lot of different topics. So you're gonna have to catch them from the beginning to now to really see what else we've talked about. We got a question from, like I said, from Black Eye Joe. He said, "What's your thought about gut instinct? You born with it or you're learning?" Did you hear that?
Oh, you're asking me? Sure, I'll take a shot at it. My opinion is it's both. It's kind of like the leadership: is a leader born or is a leader made? You know, I really think it's both. I think people do have instincts and abilities to sense things, but the more knowledge we collect, the longer we live, the more we can apply that knowledge to those instincts and make a wiser decision. So, Lonnie, if you don't mind me using an example, I think it's a great example. When you mentioned you bought that book and you sold it for an awesome price, and I asked you, how did you know? My opinion, and tell me if I'm wrong, is part of it was knowledge, but part of it was I've never seen this before, so I got a gut feeling this is going to do well. But it was somewhat based on knowledge and somewhat based on a sense. So I really think it's both. I really do.
I think the whole life is not just business. Your whole life is based on that because you're going to get knowledge from your family, your friends, and what you watch on TV. Even if some of it is faked, you still going to say, okay, well, wait, I saw that happen here. Well, I'm not going to have this happen, even if it was fake, it may not happen again. And then there's times when you're in your business, like you said, you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to take a chance, which is using your gut. So that's kind of a two-way street because you're going to learn, you're going to make mistakes, which is going to give you your gut instinct of, okay, I made the mistake here, I'm not going to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And if you haven't taken that, like you take risk, that's your gut saying, okay, I'm going to take a risk here. I'm going to take a risk there. May not be knowledge that you're using. You're just going for the fly.
And don't you think, too, it's partly based on personality? Because I remember when I was at Apple, they categorized, not artificially, it was actually very helpful. They helped us to be aware of 4 personality types. And one is the thinker. And that's the person that really wants to calculate all the pros and cons, get in a spreadsheet, really calculate it, question everything to make a decision. And there are some major strengths in that. The other one is a feeler. And the feeler is someone who's a sensor. They sense They kind of go by emotion. They're very relational. They connect. They're really good at networking, but they may not look at all the facts. And, being an accountant would make them commit suicide or go crazy. And then there's the entertainer. They're always the fun of the party. They're having fun. They love it. They're just making jokes and making light of things and keeping it alive. And then there's the director, and that's the person who says, we have a goal. Here's how we're going to get there. And they don't mind coming out and making those hard decisions. And what we did is we used that as a way to help us know how to handle people calling in. And I've been applying that in my coaching, Chris. It helps me to think, okay, within the first few minutes, I can usually pick up on if this person is a feeler, entertainer, or a thinker, or like director people. They want you to tell them direct. Just tell me the fact, right? Don't be all cushy about it and flowery. But the feelers, like, if you tell it direct, that's a little harsh. Come on, be my friend. Give me a hug first, And the thinkers, they're like, wait. Give me the figures. Tell me exactly how that works. What's the formula? And the entertainers are like, hey, are we having fun? If we're having fun, I'm cool with it. I'll try it, So all that to say, I think being a thinker type can make it hard to make decisions because we want all the facts. But that's great in business, but also hurts business because thinkers sometimes don't ever take that first step. Not against thinkers at all. I've been called a thinker before many times, but making that step, you know what I mean? That risk is really hard for a thinker to take that risk. And so I think that's sometimes where the entertainers can come in and say, look, let's just try. Let's just give it a shot and see what happens. It's okay if we fail a little bit along the way, as long as it's not too crazy, And the director, they're like, hey, let's just get it done. So I think a personality really does play into that instinct thing that we talk about.
Well, you have another question from Whack Eyed Joe, and I'm going to answer it first if you don't mind. Yes, isn't eBay, Amazon just another boss? They make the rules. Yes and no. They may make the basic rules of what is allowed or disallowed on their sites and what are best policies for their site. But it's up to you if you're going to follow them or if you're going to just work around them and work within them. Because if you're not going to Seth didn't necessarily know the rules or just said, okay, I'm testing it, this, and he didn't know that he's going to lose his eBay account. Well, right?
I just wanted to see how far I could push it.
That's what I'm saying. You knew the rules, but you chose by deciding to push it that you're taking the blame or the control of your business. So it costs you in the area to sell in. So eBay didn't necessarily say you can't sell here anyway. You chose and you pushed the button until they pushed you out.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a good point. One thing I think is really cool about eBay and Amazon, even though in eBay you're going to lose 13% and Amazon typically 15% of your profit, the marketing is done for you for the most part. Like, yeah, we can add more. You can pay for ads on Amazon. You can throw it on Craigslist as well. But the marketing is a huge investment for an entrepreneur. And if you build your own e-commerce store, it is a long, hard road to get a following and get people interested in your company and get it known. It takes a lot of work. So pretty much what you're doing is you're trading time for money. Like, man, I want to churn a dollar fast. I may not make as much, but I'd rather get the money back quickly and keep going. eBay and Amazon make that really, really easy. So totally agree with you on that, Chris. And those are more like rules. I mean, I compare working for Apple or working for FedEx when I did, or Xerox way back in the day. Very different than being on. They just have rules, but they're not telling me what I can and can't buy. They have limitations, right? They're not telling me how many things I can post. They still have a guideline, but I can go to a yard sale and buy whatever I want, And if someone pays for it, I get the money. That's a pretty sweet deal.
It's like Facebook. They have their buy and sell groups. So it's up to the group runners what rules you're gonna have on that group. You may not be able to sell something that you can sell on. You can't sell on eBay. You might be able to sell locally on a Facebook group. So you're gonna blame eBay, or you're gonna say, okay, well, I'm gonna keep selling this here where I'm making the money.
Yeah, and I think Chad, Golden Finger Picker has a great point. Fees are considered your overhead. That's so true. Overhead's huge. By comparison, if you took a regular company renting out an office with air conditioning and all the expenses and the computers and everything, it's gonna be a lot more than 15%. Or 13%. So that's very true.
Steven, the reason it feels like Seth's a big talker is because that's his personality. Plus, as he told you, he works for Apple. He had to talk to all these people from around the country as a team leader. So in order to present yourself out there, it takes time and you got to work out how you're going to talk. I know I'm not 100% anywhere near what Seth is, but he's giving you information. Listen to the information. He's not trying to sell you anything. Yes, I let him promote his things about if you want to get hold of him. That's it. We're not asking. He's not asking you for money. I'm not asking for money. So.
And I love to talk, Stephen. I'll admit it. That's my wife. I love to talk. Absolutely. I love to express myself. But one thing I promise you is I will be real with you. So if you get to know me, Stephen, if you came into my house, if you went to a coffee shop with me, you would get to know me. I am genuine. Ask people who are friends on this show, and they could tell you that. So. Hey, don't tell him that, Chad. Okay, I admit it. Stephen, we have a plan. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I got a comment from Tech Point. He said, I'm just starting to sell on eBay, just doing this since February this year. Well then, Tech, I want to let you know you can watch my show. I got lots of videos from the last couple of years. Golden Finger Picker to watch. Lonnie and Seth, they're brand new to the shows. They have a show tomorrow night. Watch all the live shows you can get and come in, ask questions, and we'll answer them as best as you can.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Yeah, and good job, man, starting it up. I met a guy last week who just started in October, and he's just starting, and he had 4 items on his store. It was awesome, and he just got going. So that's super cool, man. That's super cool.
And I want to thank, well, we are past the hour, so before we end, I want to thank you for being on. And if you would like to be on again, let me know. We'll work something out.
Yeah, I would absolutely be honored, Chris, and thank you for having me, man.
And I want to say that there's going to be a couple announcements before I shut this down. Oh, by the way, you want to stick around for a little after show?
Sure. My night is open, dude. I put it on my calendar and was like, the rest of the night, let's do it.
All right. Well, I want to make sure I like to ask my guests that way if they have other plans, I either decide to have it on my own or we sit and talk after. But tomorrow night, you and Lonnie have your show. What time is it? 8 o'clock your time? And it starts, or is it
8 o'clock? Yeah.
8 o'clock your time.
8 o'clock Central.
And then we also Friday night you have the resellers post on Chad's channel, Golden Finger Picker. Also, I was just informed he is going to have a special guest show on Saturday night at 9 o'clock with the crazy picker life. So don't forget to watch that. You also have my show on Sunday nights, the Sunday Night Live show, and we will be talking about what is rare. I will have Chad on that night, and I will also have Drew, the California Pickin on. So, thanks everybody for watching. So, I should say, check the shows. But I do this every Wednesday night at 10 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Mountain Time. So that's 9 o'clock Central. I'm in Mountain Time. I'm in Colorado. My Sunday show is an hour earlier, so I start at 7, 9 o'clock Eastern. So that's 8 o'clock Mountain Central. The Golden Finger Picker show and the Tuesday night reseller Pickers Church is 9 o'clock Eastern Time, 8 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock Mountain. So just see the names, you can click over them and subscribe, and you'll find out. You'll get all that. And if you're part of the Reseller Society or other Facebook groups, we post links in there for live shows as well. So that's where I will be posting the link for this after show. So if anybody wants to come in, that's where you'll find the link. Thanks again very much, Seth, for being on. I know it wasn't necessarily a last minute thing, but it was kind of a shock for you when I sent you the PM and Lonnie contacted you about it. So,
I was happy to be here, man. And again, thank you for having me. That was a fun conversation. So, and thank you everyone for the comments. It's really cool. I love it.
all right, everybody, I'm going to end it tonight, and I will see you in the after show if you come in. And if not, I will see you in the comments between tomorrow and Saturday night.